Whispers traveled faster than truth. A group, intoxicated by their own fear, sought answers from something they did not understand. They called upon a psychic, hoping she could unveil whatever dark energy they believed surrounded the one they could not decipher. The room smelled of incense and suspicion. Cards were shuffled, candles flickered, and silence waited to be broken. But when her eyes met the name written on the paper, something in her expression changed. Her hands trembled. She whispered a single phrase, "Some things aren't meant to be read." Then she stood, gathered her things, and left. No refund, no explanation. The watchers didn't understand it then. But what she felt wasn't fear of harm. It was recognition. There's a kind of presence that bends energy in the room. It isn't loud or aggressive. It's simply uncontainable. Some people live in such alignment that even spiritual manipulation refuses to touch them. The psychic sensed that kind of energy. She realized that the person she was asked to read didn't live under ordinary laws of cause and effect. Power born from self, mastery carries a frequency that repels intrusion. Every word she planned to say dissolved in her throat because no illusion could survive proximity to truth. Fear disguised itself as reverence. That's why she fled, not from danger, but from divinity misinterpreted as darkness. In a world obsessed with exposure, mystery becomes a form of rebellion. People crave labels, explanations, and categories because the unknown unnerves them. When they can't define someone, they demonize them. The psychic's refusal became their confirmation. To those who conspire, silence feels like confession. But silence, when rooted in control, terrifies the curious. It reflects back their lack of understanding. The ones who hired her wanted validation for their hatred. Instead, they received a warning they didn't comprehend. When she left, she took the illusion of power with her. What remained was unease, the feeling that some people walk protected by something invisible and untouchable. That protection isn't supernatural, it's psychological. A person who knows themselves cannot be cornered. The mind that has conquered its own chaos becomes immune to manipulation. The psychic, attuned to energy, felt it instantly. She recognized stability so grounded that it made deceit impossible. The group expected curses and omens. What they encountered was balance. It's the kind of balance that scares manipulators because it cannot be baited. There's nothing to exploit, nothing to guilt, nothing to control. In a world of reaction, calm becomes the loudest defiance. The mind is magnetic. It attracts what it mirrors. Those who swim in chaos draw chaos to them. Those who move with clarity repel confusion. The psychic felt that magnetic wall, that quiet order, and it shook her understanding. Her instincts screamed that attempting to read this soul would fracture her own alignment. Power that doesn't advertise itself disturbs people who live on surface energy. It reminds them how shallow their influence truly is. Real strength radiates differently. It does not demand recognition, it demands distance. Fear often masquerades as curiosity. The group claimed they wanted to know the truth, but what they truly wanted was control. They wanted the psychic to confirm that their target was dangerous because it would justify their failure to contain them. But when she felt what she felt, the narrative fell apart. Power that can't be named exposes weakness that can't be hidden. The psychic understood what they didn't. The one they feared was not playing defense. They had transcended the entire game. She knew no spell could bind someone who no longer reacts. Psychology always explains what mysticism dramatizes. When someone operates with full self-awareness, others perceive it as supernatural. It's not sorcery. It's perception sharpened beyond manipulation. When emotions are mastered, movements become unpredictable. When ego is dissolved, judgment loses its grip. People mistake emotional discipline for dark power because it contradicts everything they understand about control. The psychic was simply the first to admit what the others refused to see. You cannot expose what has nothing to hide. Over time, the story twisted. The psychic became the villain in their retelling. They said she was scared by evil, that she ran from something unholy. But behind closed doors, she told a different version to her peers. She said the presence she encountered felt like standing in front of a mirror too honest to face. She said the energy was ancient, detached, deliberate. It wasn't evil, it was sovereign. The kind of sovereignty that doesn't crave recognition, only silence. That's what frightened her most. the realization that true mastery emits no noise. Eventually, the group disbanded. The obsession faded, replaced by discomfort they couldn't explain. None of their schemes worked afterward. Conversations about that day ended abruptly, like the subject itself carried a warning. The psychic stopped taking private readings altogether. Her final note to herself read, "Some souls are protected by their own truth. No mysticism, no guardians, just unwavering alignment between thought, intention, and action." And that, in this world, is the rarest form of power. There comes a point when a person's alignment with truth becomes so exact that the universe itself stops testing them. It's not about perfection, nor about holiness. It's about congruence, the rare state where intention, action, and consequence walk in the same rhythm. The world feels quieter around such a soul. Distractions lose weight, conflict dissolves before it forms, and unseen forces that once meddled begin to hesitate. Truth has its own armor. It doesn't sparkle or roar, it hums. When a person moves through life without disguises, nothing unseen dares to distort their path. It's like walking through fog and realizing that even the mist moves aside. Many talk about divine protection as though it comes from external favor, but the deepest shield is integrity. Truth organizes energy. Every deceit fractures it, while every act of alignment strengthens it. When a soul walks in truth, chaos cannot attach itself. It slides off. Those who live dishonestly carry invisible fractures, making them easy to influence, easy to sway. But someone who has integrated their shadow has no entry point. That's why even unseen forces, those subtle energies that thrive on confusion, avoid them. They can't survive in environments of wholeness. Truth doesn't repel darkness. It renders it irrelevant. The unseen does not fear light. It fears transparency. Light exposes, but transparency dissolves the need for exposure altogether. Imagine a person who hides nothing from themselves. Every flaw acknowledged, every motive understood, every fear met head-on. What could possibly control such a mind? This is why spiritual interference fades around people who live truthfully. There's nothing to exploit. Temptation only works on those at war with their own contradictions. Once the internal conflict ends, so does external manipulation. The unseen thrives on duality, on pretending that light and dark are enemies. But when a person stops choosing sides and simply stands in awareness, even the unseen bows. In a world full of noise, truth sounds like silence. It doesn't demand attention, it commands respect. Those who operate from truth rarely argue, rarely prove, rarely chase. Their stillness feels intimidating because it cannot be influenced. The unseen, call it energy, intuition, or spirit, senses this. It recognizes that truth is unalterable. There's nothing to whisper against, no lie to amplify. So it steps aside not out of fear, but out of reverence. Even interference has a hierarchy, and truth sits too high for mischief to reach. People who live this way don't pray for safety, they radiate it. Most of life's chaos comes from resistance. Lies resist reality. Illusions resist time. Egos resist accountability. But truth aligns with all three. When someone stops fighting what is, the world stops fighting them back. Things that used to feel supernatural, luck, timing, intuition, begin to synchronize effortlessly. It's not magic, it's coherence. When the inside matches the outside, reality obeys. That's why unseen forces, whether divine or destructive, leave such a soul alone. They cannot compete with the rhythm of authenticity. In the grand design, truth is the one vibration that needs no defense. There's something unnerving about a person who carries no pretense. Most people build identities like armor, trying to appear confident or wise. But truth doesn't decorate itself. It simply exists. Those who operate through falsehood sense this power instinctively. It exposes them without words. Their schemes stop working, their manipulation loses effect. Even lies begin to sound hollow in their presence. That's why the unseen retreats. It's not because of fear of confrontation, but because truth offers no stage for deception to perform. The greatest strength is to live in such honesty that nothing can recruit you against yourself. In a sense, truth is an exorcism, not of demons, but of delusion. When someone stops lying, to others, to themselves, to their past, the unseen entities that fed on confusion lose access. They vanish quietly, like shadows at dawn. There's no ritual required, no chant or flame. just awareness, consistent and merciless. The human mind is a fortress when aligned with its own truth. Every thought becomes a guard, every decision a boundary. That's why those who live truthfully appear untouched by curses, envy, or betrayal. The unseen recognizes that energy of self-possession and withdraws. It knows interference would only expose its own weakness. The rarest kind of peace is the one that doesn't depend on circumstances. Truth gives birth to that peace. A person who stands in truth no longer needs to defend themselves. The lies of others crumble upon contact, rumors dissolve into irrelevance, and manipulation turns to dust. It's as if life itself reconfigures to protect alignment. The unseen doesn't need to intervene because there's nothing left to correct. Balance sustains itself. What once felt like divine protection is simply nature responding to coherence. Truth makes reality obedient. There's a quiet joy in knowing that no one's perception defines you. That is the reward of walking in truth. When nothing external dictates value, the unseen becomes an ally, not a threat. The forces that once tested loyalty now recognize purpose. Even pain starts to cooperate. It no longer arrives as punishment, but as refinement. Every challenge becomes precise, necessary, even merciful. In this space, life feels less like survival and more like orchestration. It's the kind of control that requires no control at all. The world rearranges around those who hold it. The unseen senses it first. It withdraws not because it's defeated, but because it understands hierarchy. Truth sits closest to creation. It needs no guardian, no explanation. It simply moves forward, unthreatened and unstoppable. Those who walk in it carry a quiet authority that even silence recognizes. And when that happens, nothing, seen or unseen, dares to interfere. The truth always finds strange ways to crawl back to the surface. One night, a message arrived, a quiet confession wrapped in guilt. The words were hesitant, uneven, trembling between regret and self-preservation. It told the story of betrayal that had already been suspected long ago. The details didn't surprise anyone who'd been paying attention. What hurt wasn't the act, but the cowardice behind it. Betrayal never happens in a storm. It happens in whispers during calm moments by people who smile while calculating. That confession wasn't shocking, it was confirmation. And in that moment, something changed. The pain didn't explode, it crystallized into understanding. The realization that no one truly betrays another. They only reveal what was hidden in their nature all along.